Hello and welcome back to my channel for another video. A little while ago, I had the realization that I was drinking way too much caffeine. So I obviously decided to give it up for 2 weeks and it was a struggle to say the least. I will say that I don't think drinking coffee is necessarily bad for you. There are certainly lots of pros to drinking coffee. And since I finished this challenge, I have had it again, just a lot less of it. However, I was finding that there were a few cons to me having the amount of coffee I was having, and these are some of the reasons I chose to give it up for a while. First, I got to a point where I didn't feel like I could survive without my morning coffee. And if I didn't have it until later in the morning, then I'd get a headache and I'd have to have a coffee to make it go away. And I didn't want to be someone who had to have coffee in the morning to survive. Secondly, coffee can be really expensive and I would go through phases of buying my coffee every day. So my usual order was $4. And if I buy one of those every day a week, that's $28. And then if I buy one of those every day for a year, that's over $1,400. And I don't know about you, but I can definitely think of like heaps of other things I would rather spend $1,400 on in a year. The third reason is that I generally don't sleep very well, and this is probably just my life now that I'm in my mid-20s, but I feel tired during the day and then I can't get to sleep at night. So I thought giving up all caffeine has surely got to help with that somehow. And finally, I often find that I'm quite anxious and agitated. I feel jittery, I can't sit still, I'm constantly bouncing my leg, and which is like a bit just how I am, but also I do find that when I'm experiencing stress, like if I've got a lot on at work or if I've got an exam coming up, caffeine can make me feel extra agitated. So for those reasons, I decided to set myself a 14-day challenge and give it up completely. I went cold turkey for this challenge, but for reasons that will become apparent in a moment, I would not recommend that you do this if you want to try it at home. Just save yourself a world of pain and wean yourself off it gradually. If I did it again, I think I would probably cut out one caffeinated beverage every few days until I was drinking none or the amount that I was happy with. Part of the reason I went cold turkey and didn't wean myself off caffeine is because I wanted to see how much caffeine was actually affecting me, and it turns out it was affecting me heaps. One website I had a look at recommends doing it for a weekend or holiday period, stocking up on groceries and easy to digest food, avoiding driving, telling family members what to expect and how to help, and to notify your colleagues about your caffeine detox, which I thought, bloody hell, it is not major surgery, it's a caffeine detox. So taking that advice and putting it straight in the bin, I did it while working from home full time and changing absolutely nothing else about my routine other than that I wasn't drinking caffeine. Another website informed me that caffeine withdrawal can last 2 to 9 days, and I optimistically thought it would last 2 days, and I was quite wrong about that, but it certainly also didn't last 9 days. You'll see from the clips in a moment, but I think it lasted until about day 4 or 5. And given that they said I could still be suffering on day 9, that's why I decided to do a 2-week challenge and not one, so I could be sure it would be totally out of my system by then. Withdrawal sets in within 12 to 24 hours after your last caffeinated beverage, with peak withdrawal symptoms occurring within 24 to 50 hours. And these withdrawal symptoms can include anxiety, fatigue, headaches, mood changes, and brain fog. All things I deal with on a monthly basis, so there is nothing surprising there. And the symptoms should subside as my body adjusts. Withdrawal sets in between 12 to 24 hours after your last caffeinated beverage, with peak withdrawal symptoms occurring between 24 and 50 hours. Those withdrawal symptoms include anxiety, fatigue, headaches, mood changes, and brain fog, all things I deal with on a monthly basis, so nothing new there, and the symptoms should subside as my body adjusts. The not at all scientific website I consulted also recommends drinking lots of water, taking ibuprofen or paracetamol, sleep, and exercise to reduce the symptoms. Now that we've covered all that, let's have a look at how I went during the challenge. Hey guys, it's day 1 of my caffeine-free challenge, and I just thought I'd come on here to talk about how I'm feeling a little bit. It's just after 12 p.m, so by now I would have had maybe a flat white or a pre-workout in the morning, and then certainly a couple of instant coffees, maybe a couple of teas. So I'm pretty behind on my caffeine intake at this point in the day, and I'm not feeling too bad. I do have a little bit of a headache, but other than that, it's pretty much fine. I'm trying to stay as hydrated as possible and to keep eating my meals and everything at the same time as well. Yeah, so that's me for today. It's a little bit later on the same day, and I won't lie to you, I am experiencing some significant effects of caffeine withdrawal. I have a really bad headache, like a migraine type headache right behind the eyes. Yeah, it's not pleasant. I've just taken some ibuprofen and I'm making sure to drink enough water. So hopefully, fingers crossed it doesn't last that long, and at the very least it'll be gone tomorrow. They said that caffeine withdrawal symptoms can last 2 to 9 days. So I'm hoping that I'm more on the 2 end of the scale and that I'm not still experiencing headaches on day 9. yeah, I don't think I'll be experiencing headaches for that long, but maybe that's just wishful thinking. We'll see. Either way, it's quite painful and difficult to concentrate on my work at the moment, but I'll push through the afternoon, and here's hoping that tomorrow will be better. Today is day 2 of the challenge, and I just wanted to share with you some pros and some cons that I'm feeling at this point in time. In terms of cons, I woke up with a headache. I was feeling really rubbish, feeling really slow. I drank a litre of water before breakfast, and that didn't make me feel any better. And then I had my breakfast and I felt really sick after having my breakfast, so that was rubbish. And I am feeling still at about 9 a.m. a bit so-so, not great. Pros on the other hand, I slept really well last night. I had one of those sleeps where I fell asleep and I woke up in the same position as I was when I went to sleep, and that was just incredible. Like, if you know those sleeps, you know those sleeps. And then this morning after breakfast, when I was feeling really ill, I went out for a walk, I got some sun, and honestly that did me a world of good. It was so medicinal, and it just goes to show how much all of these little things like moving your body, getting some daylight, getting enough water, how much of a difference all of that stuff makes. So that's how I'm feeling on the morning of day 2. Fingers crossed that these symptoms and this headache goes away pretty soon, because I'm not sure how much longer I can stick it out. On that point, when I was feeling a little bit ill earlier on, I was considering having a green tea, like a very weak green tea, which shouldn't have like too much caffeine in it, certainly not as much as like a flat white, but we'll see how I go, because I don't want to have that if I can avoid it, but I might need it later on to take the edge off. We'll see. It's day 3. This morning I woke up with a mild headache, and I am generally feeling so much better. I actually think I might have, fingers crossed, turned a corner. Just feeling like so much better than I have been the last 2 days. I'm not 100%, but I don't feel hungover or sick or like I'm coming down with anything anymore. I just feel like I haven't had a coffee yet. That's all. I've started having rooibos tea in the morning. It's like a African red tea. It tastes really nice. It almost has like a vanilla sort of flavor, but it doesn't have any calories and it doesn't have any caffeine in it. So that's why I have swapped that one out. And it's been really nice to have a hot drink in the morning. I really enjoy that ritual, and that's something that I had been missing, not having coffee the last few days. But I'm really enjoying the rooibos tea. Very tasty. I had a quick look online. Apparently it's super good for you, promising things like cancer fighting and like fat burning and all sorts of ridiculous stuff. It tastes good. That's all that matters. And it's Friday, so after 2 days of really struggling with work and struggling through the work day, I am so excited to just get down to it, have a productive day, and enjoy the weekend. Good morning, it is day 6 of the challenge today. I didn't do a little video or a catch up or anything on day 4 or 5 because it was the weekend, but I did write some notes down for you. So this is how day 4 went. On day 4, I had another mild headache, quite similar to Friday, maybe slightly better, but I couldn't tell if it was due to caffeine withdrawal or the 4 glasses of wine I drank the night before. Ultimately, on Saturday, I really felt a lot better, and Saturday was much the same as Sunday. Just a mild headache both days, nothing sort of major to report. And then today I feel just normal. Like, I don't have a headache, I don't feel especially tired, I slept really well last night, things are looking good. I think I might be over the withdrawal symptoms now. I was feeling on Friday much better, so that was day 3 of the challenge. So 3 days in, I started feeling like I'd turned a corner. My withdrawals weren't nearly as bad, and I was seeing light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. And now on day 6, I think all withdrawal symptoms appear to have entirely passed. A few things that I'm finding during the challenge so far. So I'm finding that I'm incredibly tired in the evenings. I hit a wall at about 8 p.m. where I just get super tired, and then by 9:30 I'm in bed, if not asleep. But the quality of the sleep that I have been having has been really good. It's like turning out the light. I am dead to the world for however many hours that I'm in bed for. Sometimes, like some nights I do still wake up maybe once, but the sleep that I have around that isn't broken. I'm not tossing and turning. It's just really solid sleep. It's like I turn the lights out, close my eyes, and then I wake up when my alarm goes off. It's fantastic. I didn't really expect to see that as a result so quickly. I always thought that my poor sleeping was just because I wasn't a very good sleeper, and I was convinced for so long that caffeine and sleep hygiene and all of that had nothing to do with it. But it turns out that caffeine must have been having a pretty big impact on it, because I really am seeing a significant improvement in the quality of my sleep. As for today, so I mentioned that I feel completely normal. I got up at 6 a.m. this morning. No one likes getting out of bed at 6 o'clock in the dark in the middle of winter, so that wasn't pleasant, but I did it and it was fine. And I went to my my RPM class, and I am getting through my classes without my pre-workout, but it is a little bit of a struggle because we've had the virus, the gyms were closed. This is only my 3rd week back in the gym anyway, so I initially got the pre-workout. I had only been taking it for maybe a week or 2 before I started this challenge. After not going to the gym for ages, I took the pre-workout, got back into the gym, and I was finding that that really helped push me through those initial stages of rebuilding my fitness back up. And then now I think that had like a little bit of an effect, but I was only taking it for a week and a half before I started this challenge. And I did notice today, while I didn't think about taking it before my class and sort of, really wished that I could take it, I honestly just completely forgot about it before the class. While I was in the class, I did notice that just my endurance wasn't as good. So it's been not a struggle, but I've been pushing through the classes and I'm not finding that I'm as quite high energy as I was on the pre-workout, but that is what pre-workout does. So you can't expect to have as much energy as you do with pre-workout. So before I started this challenge, I wrote down what I was having in terms of caffeine, but I didn't work out exactly how many units of caffeine or anything that I was having before this challenge. So caffeine, if you don't know, is measured in milligrams, and there are a bunch of government agencies in Australia and I'm sure the US and wherever else, all of them recommend that you don't have more than 400 milligrams a day of caffeine. That's considered the limit for safe consumption of caffeine. I don't believe that caffeine is bad for you. That's not really why I'm doing this challenge. I just think I was probably drinking a little bit too much. So I thought today I would find out how many milligrams roughly of caffeine I was having before the challenge started. So the 4 main forms of caffeine that I was having before the challenge, I mentioned that I take pre-workout. So there's this pre-workout, and then I have instant coffee, the Moccona medium classic blend, and then English breakfast tea. So I have this or I have Twinings. And then the other type of caffeine that I consume is a flat white from the coffee shop, but I don't have that all that often. Maybe only twice a week I have that. So let's find out how much caffeine is actually in these. So the pre-workout has the nutritional information listed on the back of it, and it says that per scoop it has 300 milligrams of caffeine. I was only having half scoop because that's what the reviews recommended. Makes your face really tingly and your ears hot, and yeah, if you've ever had pre-workout, you know what I'm talking about. So only half a scoop for that one, 150 milligrams for half a scoop. And then in the Moccona, their nutritional information isn't actually on the label or online, but I did a bit of Googling and I found out that a heaped teaspoon of Moccona should have about 60 milligrams of caffeine. As for the English breakfast tea, the internet advises me that that should have, if you brew it for as long as I do, roughly 25 milligrams of caffeine per serve. And then in a flat white, general consensus seems to be that it has about 80 milligrams of caffeine. I was having pre-workout 3 or 4 times a week, a instant coffee maybe 3 or 4 times a day, a English breakfast tea twice a day, and a flat white maybe only twice a week. So all of this works out to a weekly total of 2,220 milligrams of caffeine. Roughly, this is very rough. It's not specific, but it's giving me a ballpark idea. So then that gives me a total of roughly 320 milligrams of caffeine a day, which is only 80 milligrams away from the recommended safe intake. So I'm just 1 flat white away from an unhealthy level of caffeine. And I was already feeling that, I don't know who they base this on. Maybe they base it on like some 6 foot tall grown man. I don't know. That is my update for today. And I'll see you back here tomorrow for day 7. Good morning and welcome to day 8 of the challenge. I didn't film anything yesterday because honestly at this point in the challenge there isn't really much to report. I didn't have a headache yesterday. I didn't have any other particular withdrawal symptoms. I did notice that spinning was really tough, but that could also have been because I did it 2 days in a row and I don't usually do consecutive days of spinning. So the one symptom that I have been struggling with a little bit is I get really tired in the afternoon and in the evenings, and I just can't seem to push through. So yesterday about mid-afternoon, because I'm still working from home and my schedule's a bit more flexible, I had an afternoon nap for about 25 minutes, and honestly that nap was so medicinal. I had the nap and then I felt so refreshed afterwards, and I could just push through the entire evening, and I finished work about 8 o'clock last night. I am really happy that I have managed to detox from caffeine. I don't believe that it's in my system anymore. I think I'm probably beyond that. I am noticing that I am sleeping so much better. I go to sleep and I just sleep all night long with minimal disruptions. I'm not tossing and turning or anything like I used to be. I'm finding that my quality of sleep is really, really high, which is amazing. And I'm really enjoying that. The other thing is, at this point, after a week without any coffee, it's not that I miss the coffee. I just really want to go to the coffee shop and get something delicious and warm to sip on. I just love going to the coffee shop nearby and I love supporting them, and yeah, I just really miss that. Maybe I should go and get myself hot chocolate. Probably won't do that. I'll just probably stick it out for another week. So that's all. I'll see you tomorrow for day 9. Today is day 14 of the challenge, the final day, and I have to say I am super excited that I got this far. I have no symptoms to report at this stage. I'm really glad that I got to the end of this challenge, and I really do feel like I achieved what I set out to achieve in undertaking this challenge. I don't have any notes here in my journal for anything after day 7 because I really haven't had any symptoms since then. So that goes to show that the first week was not great, but the second week completely fine, and now I feel just really good. I don't feel dependent on coffee. I don't feel like I need a coffee in the morning. Oh, I did go out for coffee with friends a couple of times, and the way I managed that was I just had a chai or a hot chocolate, which makes me feel like I'm back to being about 15 years old, but I am looking forward to having a coffee. And now what you probably want to know is, will I go back to having caffeine again? And the answer to that is yes, but not nearly as much. So what I've really liked about doing this challenge is I no longer feel dependent on coffee. I don't feel as though I need it to do anything. I don't need it to get through stressful times. I don't need it first thing in the morning. I don't need it to get through a workout. So during this challenge, I actually influenced my partner. He decided to reduce his caffeine intake to only 2 caffeinated beverages a day. Going forward, 2 a day would definitely be my max. I think I'll have some of those other things that I've been having instead of coffee, just more water in general. I've been having that rooibos tea quite a bit, peppermint tea. So I think going forward, I'll just consume a reduced amount of caffeine and try not to get it back up there again. But that's where I'm at. So I'm so excited that I got to this point in the challenge. I am so happy that I achieved what I wanted to. There has been no caffeine for 2 weeks and I am absolutely detoxed from caffeine at this point, and I'm loving it. Now I'll go through some of my takeaways from the challenge. I wasn't really expecting a massive change to my sleeping habits because I was so unaware of just how much caffeine was actually affecting myself. And all I can say is, wow, if you drink caffeine and you don't sleep that well, you need to give this a go. Anxiety was another thing I hoped would improve doing the challenge, and I did feel less jittery and restless, but not completely free of those anxious habits. So it's not the caffeine that's causing my anxiety, but it seems to be like it exacerbates it when I'm feeling that way. I also noticed some interesting things to do with how what I was eating was making me feel throughout the day. So I always thought that drop in energy after lunch was because it had been a few hours since I had my last coffee, so I just have another one, or it was because I wasn't sleeping that well. But actually during the challenge, I felt like I still had that pronounced kind of tiredness after lunch, and the way that I've decided to like combat that now is if I can, I try to get out of the house or the office and go for a walk and see some sunlight at lunchtime. And that kind of like takes me beyond that period. Otherwise, I'd just be sitting on my desk feeling sluggish and not having a good time. With all this new knowledge of how caffeine messes with my body, what will I do now? I love coffee and I enjoy that experience of getting a coffee from a cafe so much that I'm definitely not going to cut it out forever. But I think what I want to do going forward is avoid a dependence on coffee and maybe have like some days of the week where I don't have any coffee so that I know that I'm not building back a dependence on it. When I finished the challenge, I actually didn't have any coffee on like the last day or the day after the last day. I think it was about day 16 or 17 before I had my first coffee because I wanted to really enjoy it. And also I just didn't at that point feel like I needed it at all. So that was a really good outcome. Now I'm having coffee probably 2 or 3 days a week, and then I'll have black tea some days and some days I'll have nothing at all. So this was a really successful challenge and I'm really pleased with how it went. I didn't enjoy it at the time at all. It was really painful, and next time if I did it, I'd probably do like a weaning method, although there won't be a next time because I'm not going to get dependent on caffeine again. So I'm really happy that I made it to the other side and freed myself from this mildly concerning addiction. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe and let me know in the comments if you're going to do the challenge. Thanks for watching and I'll see you back here soon.